In this lesson, we will explore firstly the main objective of SDG 8, why it matters and its theoretical basis. Secondly, we will consider the evidence on unsustainable practices at the international level provided by UN and at the national level provided by BES and Alma Laurea. Thirdly, we will see some solution to decent work and what can be done for the workers of the world. What is the main objective of SDG 8? To promote inclusive and sustainable economic growth, employment and decent work for all. Indeed, poverty eradication is only possible through stable, good quality and well-paid jobs. Unfortunately, nearly 2.2 billion people live below the poverty line. According to International Labour Organization, 5.6% of the global population was unemployed in 2017. In 2018, the total number of unemployed people remained high, above 192 million, and it was harder to find decent jobs. In order to keep up with the growth of the global working age population, 470 million jobs are needed for new entrants to the labor markets between 2016 and 2030. In addition, we also need to improve conditions for the some 783 million women and men who are working but not earning enough to lift themselves and their families out of poverty. Said this, in your opinion, why SDG 8 matters? Well, productive employment, better quality of jobs, and decent work are key elements for achieving fair globalization and poverty reduction, but especially for abolishing competition from below. On the other hand, unemployment can lead to unrest and disrupt peace. For this reason, the more people are being productive and contributing to their and other countries' growth, also through migration, the more whole society takes advantage of it. Decent work means opportunities for everyone to get work that is productive and that delivers a fair income, security in the workplace, and social protection for families, better prospects for personal development and social integration. A continuous lack of decent work opportunities, insufficient investment and underconsumption lead to an erosion of the basic social contract underlying democratic societies. The logic of decent work is very close to that of Human Development Index, a composite index of welfare very useful in monitoring the evolution of human development, which was fostered from 1990 onwards by the United Nations Development Programme in order to provide an alternative to the World Bank World Development Report. Globally, we observe huge structural changes, polarization of employment, some increase in labor productivity, and little decrease in unemployment. Therefore, more progress is needed to increase employment opportunities, especially for young people, to reduce informal employment and labor market inequality, particularly in terms of the gender pay gap. From United Nations reports, we can see that in 2016, real GDP per capita grew at 1.3% globally. In 2010-2016, the average growth rate was 1.7%, while for LDCs, the rate fell sharply from 5.7% in 2005-2009 to 2.3% in 2010-2016. Globally, 61% of all workers were engaged in informal employment in 2016. Excluding the agricultural sector, 51% of all workers fell into this employment category. Data from 45 countries suggest that gender inequality in earnings is still pervasive. In 89% of these countries, the hourly wages of men are on average higher than those of women, with a median pay gap of 12.5%. The global unemployment rate in 2017 was 5.6%, down from 6.4% in 2000. The decline was low since 2009, when it hit 5.9%. Youth are 3 times more likely to be unemployed than adults, with the global youth unemployment rate at 13% in 2017. Other indicators that we are going to explain show how territorial origin and educational level still affect considerably occupational conditions. The Equitable and Sustainable Well-being Report says that in 2017, the share of workers employed in a part-time job was rather high, but even higher in the South than in the North, and even lower for graduates. In the same year, a significant decrease in the rate of transformation of temporary jobs in permanent jobs took place with respect to the previous year, ranging from 11.7% in the South and 17.8% in the North. For more educated workers, the stabilization process was higher, around 18%, than for less educated ones, 13.6%. Workers' evaluation is one of the relevant yardsticks of the effectiveness of education. For instance, we could ask ourselves how many graduates have a job that they qualified for. To answer this question, we can look at 2018 Alma Laurea report. For about 1/2 of graduates in Italy who have a job 1 year after graduation, the qualification is extremely valuable or reasonably valuable for 52.8% of graduates with the first cycle degree and for 48.4% of graduates with the second cycle's degree. However, the improvement of the last few years is not yet big enough to solve the problems met in 2008-2013, the most difficult years of the global crisis. In those years, the proportion of graduates who taught their degree was extremely valuable or reasonably valuable, decreased by 11.7% for graduates with the first cycle degree and by 6.8% for graduates with the second cycle degree. What can we do? Providing youth the best opportunity to transition to a decent job calls for investing in education and training, both on the supply side and the demand side of labor markets. New linkages between school, university, and industry should be developed in order to attain the highest possible jobs quality and to provide youth with skills that match labor market demands. It is necessary to give them access to social protection and basic services regardless of their contract type, as well as leveling the playing field so that all aspiring youth can attain productive employment regardless of their gender, income level, and socioeconomic background. Lastly, investment in education are definitely much more sustainable than the search for talents.